Okay.
Y'all about ready to start?
Yep. Countdown.
3, 2, 1. Let's go.
And go. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Love Power Show. Today we are talking about rebuilding the African American family in a series, part 2. In the studio with me today, as usual, Omar Baruti to my left, Chase Matkins, and we are expecting Lonnie Simmons and Jeffrey Steele. But in the meantime, we want to thank Z&Z Enterprises for the great community work they are doing in the Memphis area. You may receive air, gas test with a $50 discount, saving if you mention the Love Power Show. As well, remodeling and new additions as well. Z&Z Enterprises, 901-301-6473. Heating and air repair. Installations, Z&Z Enterprises, 901-301-6473. Want to send a shout out to my good friend, Lois Lomax, at the Cleveland Street Flea Market. Stop by and see my friend Coldwater as well. Do not forget, Donna Bohannon, Monday and Wednesday, right here. Now, January the 7th, starting at 12, Chase, and Chase is going to say a few things about that later in the show. We're going to do another youth leadership conference where it's going to be a workshop instead. And we realize, Omar, that we need more than 2 hours, so we're going to get started a little early and work through some things and put some ideas together and put a flyer together, put it in the community. Youth Leadership Conference, January the 7th. Bring someone, invite someone, friend or foe, critic, enemy. Come on down. Let's make a deal. Omar, I want to go to you. What do you have for us, Omar?
I want to say the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily the views and opinions of this radio station nor of our advertisers. And I'd like to remind you that this show is really for the young people in the house. I want the young people to come to the radio to listen in because we are talking about their future. They're the leaders of tomorrow and they have to take charge of their posts. And we want to help them. We are the elders. We want to help them do what they need to do because revolution is coming. Whether we like it or not, we must be ready for it.
Thank you, Brother Omar. And we have a new guest with us as well. Chase, this is your cousin? A new guest? Oh, hold on. Brother Chris Walton. A man of your word.
Yes, sir.
Happy to have you with us today.
Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. No wonder you were looking at me like that. I said, this brother, he knows something. And so I said to myself, look, man, you got to think. So, as usual, now someone said something to me this morning. We're talking about Brother Chris, rebuilding the African American family. So when we say rebuilding something, what does that mean? And we'll go to you, Chris. Go right ahead. Now these mics, show them how to operate these mics, Omar. Go right ahead. Speak right into it.
Well, rebuilding consists of going back to the drawing board with an existing plan or idea or something that's already it's like your automobile engine. Your car might be running, but maybe needs an overhaul to optimal performance. So this is what rebuilding the community is going to have to consist of, basically. You know,
All right.
Seeing where we stand and making necessary adjustments and changes.
Yes.
To increase whatever we're trying to, optimal performance in the community.
Yes. Chase, I want to go to you. Rebuilding.
Yes, sir. Well,
Go right ahead.
First and foremost, rebuilding, the term rebuild implies that there was first a destruction. Something was destroyed. And so we have to think carefully and critically about which parts were destroyed, which parts of worth being overhauled and what needs to be replaced altogether and not thought twice about.
All right. And I want to mention real quick that Brother Chris and I, we met on Facebook. And we exchanged some likes and some ideas, and you followed up. And we greatly, here at the Love Power Show, we greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Omar, we're getting jump started. Help us out. Rebuilding.
You know, when you look back at 1865,
All right.
there was a civil war, and the North and the South fought each other over not slavery, but over self-determination. The South felt like they should have the right to keep slaves and have free labor, and the North felt like that was an economic disadvantage to them. So it's really about the dollar bill, not about the slavery. It was the economics of slavery. When the war was over, and over 650,000 white people lost their lives in the bloodiest war ever recorded in American history, after that war was over, all the artisans, the craftsmen, were primarily black people. They built over 60 black cities in America. And when that building was taking place, there were thriving black towns. Tulsa, Oklahoma is just one of them. And then white people got jealous. And they went about themselves in a deliberate manner to destroy those black cities. And they did a great job at that. Tulsa, Oklahoma was bombed. This is the only city in America that's ever been bombed. It was bombed from the air by gasoline bombs dropped on black townships and black businesses and black churches. We have yet to rebuild from that devastation. Now, when you go to the black community, as you look at what we did, we went through an integration process. We thought that we had arrived because we considered lunch counters with white people, go to the toilets with white people, which those conditions were deplorable. Because when we went to some bus station, we had to go and use the bathroom outside. Restaurants, we had to use the restroom outside. And we couldn't even go into certain restaurants. I remember going to a restaurant and going to the back door, knocking on the door to order some food, and standing at the back door to wait for it to come to me. Whereas white people were going inside the restaurant, sitting down and enjoying their meal. I remember those days. But now let's look at where we are today. The black family has been destroyed. In my day, 70% of households had a male as the head of that household. Today, less than 30% there's a black male in the household, and a lot of times they're just shacking.
Yes.
Black children are almost fatherless. As a foster parent of 8 years, having over 38 children in our home, most of them came in there with a birth certificate that said father unknown. That's shameful. That you can have intimacy with a man, he can produce a child with you, and you don't even know his name. All you know is his name was Big D. His name was T.I. That's all you know. That's shameful. And nowadays, that is the trend. You just shack. You don't cohabitate and marry and produce a future for your children. And then right now, children are not even being raised by the parents. They're being raised by television and the other media. The family has been destroyed, and all we can go is up. And with Donald Trump putting some fire on us, we're going to have to go up.
All right. Thank you, Brother Omar. And someone said to me this morning that in our organizing process, in her assessment, that we are traveling in the wrong direction, and that more emphasis, Omar, Brother Chris, Chase, should be placed on the young African American woman, and that that is where the biggest problem lies. And we hear a lot of talk about gang members and gang fights and etc. But it appears that that aspect of the family, rebuilding the family, since we recognize that integration has not worked and is not working, and we continue to see the various displacement of families throughout, across, and around the city. And so, but bringing the young woman, we'll go to you, Chase, in that regard, has to be saved, whatever word you want to use, reformed, brought back into the fold, or whatever. Let's look at that, and then we'll go to question one. Let's let that be question one.
Okay. Well, I agree with that statement in part. I agree with that statement in part that emphasis should be, I guess, placed on the rehabilitation of the young African American woman as well as the young African American male. That's okay. The other part to the exception to that statement being true is that I believe that it takes both resurrection or rehabilitation. But I also want to add that we can't leave anyone out of the fold, I guess, in terms of we can't place one importance over another. And I'll just leave it at that. I actually lost my train of thought.
We'll come back to you. We'll come back around to you. Because I'm glad you said that. You made me think about balance when you said that. But Brother Chris, we're recording for YouTube as well, so slide in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
okay.
perhaps over just a little bit so that everyone can see you on TV.
Okay.
All right. What is your take on that part of the equation, the young African American woman? And we do see some things happening.
Right.
We see lots of, and then we'll take a call, lots of babies being born. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And where are the fathers?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead.
Well, first of all, we got to have what I consider a back to basics approach. Whereas the young women in the different communities, there's no leadership, so to speak. Sometimes there's not even leadership in the home. The old grandmother's wisdom and auntie wisdom and mother wisdom has gone out the window. And so you have a lot of instances whereas people are gravitating to what they see on television and things that are not realistic. So this is taking people out of focus with the basic fundamentals of parenting, the idea of man and woman, like you said a minute ago, the balance.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the balance, and basically things are out of balance now. Everybody's pretty much doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Very good.
I found that thought.
Go ahead.
So I wanted to add that Dr. Wade Nobles once said in a 3-point manifesto that until we begin living by our own cultural mandates, anything that we do will only be a diminishment of our true potential. So even with the quote-unquote advancement of the African American woman or male for that matter, as long as we don't have our own cultural, moral, ethical, social, political, economical mandates, anything we do is really a diminishment. It's not even close to our true potential that we hold within as a people.
All right, Omar, let's take a call. Go right ahead, caller.
Yes, good afternoon, brothers. I want to say thank you to Brother Omar for that historical analysis. That's very important of how our families came to be in the condition that they are. The present time, you know, the families were just they're lucky a mother and a father, and we're more than likely a single parent or sometimes no parent. But either way, the African American family, like all families, is an economic unit of relationships bound together for mutual love, care, development, and security. That's the structure, basically, of the family. The family is the second level of identification for the individual. That is, it runs second to the first level, which is the self, the person, the first name. My name is John, and therefore that's what I am. That's the first name that I ever knew, and as opposed to my sister Mary. The family name, of course, is generally going to be a cultural name. It doesn't have to be, but in today's African conscious families, it's going to be some form of African word. Hopefully, and if not, it's just simply Mary Smith return Smith. What can we do, I think to me, is the most important thing right now with rebuilding the families. And I think in 2016-17, this is the first of the year, we can do an analysis of our family dollars. Where does our dollars go, and what do we do with them, and how much do we get, and how can we get more? We've got to analyze our family dollar structure, I guess. And if we just took a little long book in our families, whether it's a single parent headed household or both parents are there, we just took a little book with two columns, two headings on it. One, dollars coming in and what is spent and data. And do that for 30 days, and I think we'll come up with a sense of each family assessing its own capabilities for growth and development, and where it needs more money. Of course, most people already know that, but the children don't necessarily know that. So it gives the family an opportunity to do a 30-day inventory of what comes in, how much comes in, and how much goes out, and what it's spent for. And then at the end of that 30-day period, of course, you got another month, and then you can kind of assess where you are, where your money goes, and how much more you're going to need, and what the plan for the next 30 days are. I'm going to leave it at that. I prefer pretty much to deal in the world of how to get to the next step.
All right, we thank you for your call, and you made some great points. And all of those points that you made is going to require further workshops, more workshops. He mentioned, I want to try to tie this in, he mentioned family love, mother, father, and love, and self-love. I thought about self-love. He mentioned family dollars, growth and development, and if we can try to tie that in very well. Because my next question is, shouldn't an individual know his role or her role in the family, and in order to do that, one must know oneself and be in the process of developing self-love? And Omar.
You know, we have a distorted conception of ourselves. And the conception we have of ourselves, we get it from the media. We have stages of life that we go through, from babyhood to boyhood to adolescence to manhood to husbandhood to fatherhood. And we skip some of those steps thinking that we've arrived, because we go from adolescence to fatherhood, and we skip manhood, and we skip husbandhood. And we think because we got a baby, we already men, although we still walking around with Pampers on and living with our mama, and can't find a place there our own head that we actually paid for. We have got to change that whole dynamics and go back to our own culture, the way we were raised in Mother Africa. We have given up our culture for this toxic culture they call the Western civilization. And unless we go back and reclaim our own heritage, we're going to stay in the condition we're in. The values that we gave up are tremendous. You know, at one time, when I was a child, we didn't have wrought iron doors to lock up nothing. I mean, we had a little latch on the door, and you could just, pull it on with your hand. Nobody came and stole anything, because if anybody came to your door, your neighbors were looking out for you. You couldn't even get in trouble down the street, because you got in trouble all up and down the street, and all the neighbors chastised you, and some of them would spank you. And then when you got home, you got some more spankings. Nowadays, because of white people brutalizing their children, then we have something called child abuse. And they don't want anybody whooping children. They say they don't want anybody whooping children. So the schools took that discipline out of the school system. I remember getting spankings when I was doing something stupid. And then when I got home, my dad had tightened it up a little bit more to make me understand certain things you just don't do. Because it's not that what you're doing is not right, but you embarrass the family. And they didn't want you to embarrass them, because they felt like we raised you better than that. We got to go back to our values, our principles. We got to go back to our way of doing our culture. That toxic culture that we integrated into, like Dr. King says, like a house on fire. And right now it's destroying us. And if we don't go back, we're going to continue down this road of destruction, and we're going to disappear as a human family. Or we're going to disappear. We got to change what we're doing. The last thing I want to say is Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that no nation can rise above its woman. And right now, with the music that our children are listening to, what they call the black woman, out of her name, the bees and the hoes, we need to take those rappers that are doing that and don't buy a dime's worth of their music. And if they got a radio station that plays it, turn it off. Turn it off. And if anybody advertising that radio station, we need to not buy the product that they put on that radio station to promote that madness in that entire community. In fact, I had to talk to a brother just this week at the Kwanzaa program. He said he's a musician who's gone to Japan. And he said when they introduced gangster rap music in Japan, it was there for about 2 weeks before the government banned it. Because they saw what the effect it had on the children. We need to ban it from our community. We don't need to wait for the government. We can ban it. They take those advertising and tell them, if you promote this on your radio station, we ain't buying nothing from you.
All right. You're talking about self-control, accountability, and responsibility.
We got to.
And taking charge, and you're also talking about leadership, something that Brother Chris Walton mentioned. Lonnie Simmons and Jeff Steele has come in. And Jeffrey, you're a little under the weather. All right. And Lonnie, are you ready to jump in there? Or you need a second or two? You're ready. Go right ahead.
I did want to jump on the topic about the road.
Yes.
You know, it seems our generation, we lost the male and the female in the family structure. We have both lost the roles, and what we need to do, you know, is when we talk about future planning or whatever, we have to get back to teaching, because our people, we were teachers, and see, when you come through a lineage of oppression, you could be a student, and the indoctrination that we are taught as a people, you know, it's not real education. So we have to go back to the root, and so the role we have to bring back. Because right now, you go into an average black woman house, single household, she gonna have an image of Marilyn Monroe, right, on her wall, instead of an image of Harriet Tubman, because she don't know her history. So now her children gonna look up on that wall, and they gonna idolize they gonna idolize Marilyn Monroe. What's any other Caucasian or any somebody that don't look like them or really represent them. So now we have to get back to the road, and now we speak on our males. We have to also realize the government had its roles in taking the males out of the family life. Whether in the male, our purpose and our role is to provide. So if you take that away from a male, and now we also know that the country of America is built off free labor. And today's free labor is incarceration. Man, they getting plenty of money off incarcerated brothers. So we have to reverse that, and we have to provide our own needs for our own people, but we have to get back into the teaching and understanding our roles, not only in the family, but in the community, as a community. Get back to the community role. So
all right,
we have to put that in the forefront. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, we've got a call. Go ahead, caller.
Hello, brothers. I was just thinking about what I saw the other day. It was really late out in the 30s, and I heard this tremendous noise. So it prompted me to go over there and see maybe if I could help them with their car. It wasn't their car, but it was the speakers in their car. It was blowing the whole place. It's so much commotion. I said, "Well, is that music you listen to?" I stopped and I found something wrong with your car. No, I think that's just what we listen to. And another brother was sitting inside the car. What do you think about that? I never said that. I didn't want to hear Temptation so top that loud. And I couldn't hear it. But the garbage that was coming out of there.
was it garbage brother Booker Omar?
Every word was profane. Every word.
Well,
They were sitting inside the car. They were standing outside while I was checking to see if I could help them with their car. I thought something was missing.
yeah.
I'm like, I can't listen to that.
All right.
Well, you know, let me say something about me.
Go ahead.
Real discipline. I'm going to say this. This has been many years ago. I was sick. Mama kept me out of school. I guess about 12 years old. And I talked to her and for them to go to the store, which I really wasn't going to say. She never go to the store. And got a couple of items from Mr. Jones across the street. He said, Booker, do your mama know you out of school? I said, yes, sir. That's thing I know. He was dropping the nickel in the phone booth. And you never know what I was about. He called and checked my mama, and mama told her, yes, sir. I kept him out of school. But that just show you I know the word back then.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, and you wanted to know what we thought about the boombox and the loud noise and everything. I think that it will kill your hearing, for one thing.
I can hear my sister when you on mama tell me that's too loud, boy, cut it down.
Yeah.
That's back in the 60s, man.
Yeah, that will destroy your hearing. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's never garbage coming out of there, man.
Yeah.
And the loudness, they want it loud. They want everybody, look like they want everybody to hear it, for some kind of reason.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you for your call now.
Have a good one.
All right. Now, question 3 and 4, I'm going to tie them together and try to tie it into something that Lonnie said. Lonnie, we're talking about roles. Everybody's got a role, and Lonnie pointed out that the government had and still has a role of eliminating the man from the family. He also mentioned one's roots. And so my question is, how does one educate oneself, and should knowing his history be a part of that? That education of oneself, self-knowledge, self-love, know your history, study your history. Omar.
You know, in this country, the system wants you to forget your history.
Yes.
And they have actually, they took 200 years to take us out of Africa, and they spent the last 200 years to take Africa out of us. Mm. So we don't even want to be African. We don't even want to be black. Mm. On the application now, you can put down multiracial. Mm. You can put down biracial. You can put down other. Even though you got black blood in you, you want to deny. I'm really Irish because I got some Irish blood in me. You want to deny your own blackness. They don't want you to know your culture or your history. And they're taking the textbooks in the school system that we control, and they're whitewashing history. I saw a textbook in the Bartlett school system that said black people came over here on ships to help the pilgrims build cabins. Mm. That ain't how we got over here. We got over here on a ship. We didn't come by choice. We came by force. And we didn't come here building a damn thing. That ain't why we came over here. We came over here because they were forcing us into slavery. But they want to whitewash us so white children don't feel bad about what they did to us during the transatlantic slave trade. We have to teach our history. We have to teach our culture. Mm-hmm. Because what they're teaching us is totally anti-black. And we got to understand that, and we got to do something about that. It was one of the city council people that sued the Shelby County City School System to put black history in the textbooks. He's dead now. Mm-hmm. And I forgot his name. Talib Muhammad. They haven't done anything with that yet, although he won the lawsuit. Right. That should be an integral part of the school system to know black history. And we don't. Even in Black History Month, we get very little black history in the school system. And now, in most school systems, when it comes to Black History Month, they want to call it Multicultural Month to water it down some more. It held as Black history, and we need to learn it. We learn white history 11 months out of the year. What we should do, as a thought, is we should take and learn white history during February, and then teach black history the rest of the year. Yeah. And do that for about 100 years until we know who we are and what we need to do about our condition. Mm-hmm.
We will point out that something took place with the Board of Education in Texas around that whole issue of what happened to a group of people who look like us as part of that process of eliminating. In other words, there are culprits out there who do detrimental things to a group of people and then hide it or attempt to hide it. or attempt to erase it from your memory,
Yes.
and therefore you will go astray, and therefore you will not have a compass or a roadmap to make your way, maneuver your way through the forest. And this is a true mechanism that we have seen. Now I want to ask something about Brother Chris Walton, about all of this. If we're doing this, we will be bringing the father back into the home. Thus, I read one time, economic, Brother Chris, that family planning is the foundation for the acquisition of wealth. And let's keep in mind what Brother Kazi said, family dollars. Right, so is that important? Bringing the father back in the home and engaging in family planning. Is that important? And what ideas do you have in that regard? And then we'll go to the next question.
Well, it's very vital to the growth of the family that there is a male presence leader. I remember a few shows ago, Brother Omar stated that some kind of way we went to sleep on the post. And that stuck with me, and I mentioned it to him the other night when we was at one of the Kwanzaa programs, and we actually did. When I was growing up, I grew up in the New Chicago community, and it was a thriving neighborhood. You had family structure. You had a mother and father at home, and sometimes even the grandmama was there. So, and a lot of these people might not have been so much in tune with African culture, but they were in tune with the idea of family and a bond and working together. So, somewhere along the line, we stepped outside of, like you said, our lifestyle and way of thinking, and this is what is happening. So until, like you said previously, until we get back to basics, to our way of thinking, our way of thinking, and that's going to have to start. Once the church was a valuable part of the communities, and when that changed, that had an effect also. So we've got to first start with our homes first. Everything starts at home, and then reaching the community as a whole. And so we've got to devise strategies to bring unity at home first, and then so it expands out into the different communities.
Mm-hmm. Strategy.
Strategy. Got to have a strategy.
To bring finances into the home.
Right.
And we just had Kuumba night or Kuumba day, creativity. And here's my next question. How about exercising, Lonnie, creativity within the family? And how about making and selling products and taking them or selling them? I just keep it plain and simple. And selling them, no matter how small or no matter what one may have been programmed to think about it. How about that in a form of creativity, creative fashion? Go right ahead, Lonnie.
I think that's great. That's a great idea, and every family should have that. That's a part of that role. I was just speaking about, because nowadays it seems like the women are not teaching the young girls crafts that they used to do back, in the older days. They don't even braid hair anymore. They don't, teach them how to do little doodle whatever and sell them. But like Kazi said, it's a family. Economic is a family thing.
Right.
And so the luxury of having a man in the household and his leadership, he can determine on how you invest or where the money going. Because our women nowadays, they spending on anything and everything, and but having that male counterbalance, what's really needed, and how the family can, like you say, easily come up with different crafts and go out on the weekend or something. Instead of being on the iPads now, you know, doing nothing, you can go out on the weekend, make you some dollars or whatever, you know, for the family. That's a thought, and that's how we need to start, individually, collectively, in the community, and it will work.
Yeah, this is part and parcel in terms of how we regain our respect and integrity.
That's right.
Back when I was going to school, and I graduated from high school in 1966, there were courses taught that I don't hear about anymore. And one was plain and simple, home economics. Because when you look at econ, that prefix that has to do with home and environment. And you spread and grow from there. Now, we have a 10-point plan, Brother Chris. Economic community control plan. We won't get too deeply into it today, but as a family unit, especially as men, we should participate in community economic development. Chase, I want to go to you. Home economics, community economics, any part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we can have community economics, we first have to have family or home economics. And before we can, I guess, effectively carry out home economics, we have to first have personal development, personal awareness, self-awareness, self-knowledge. These are the things that prevent, for the lack of better words, foolish spending, foolish behavior in general. These are the things that give a person a sense of leadership, capabilities, and qualifications. But also I want to go back a little further than that and get into the roles of male, female, father, mother, son, daughter, grandmother. All of these are social terms. These are not biological terms. Nobody's born a mother, father, sister, brother. None of these things. These are things that one, at some point in time in their life, they qualified themselves for. At least once upon a time ago, qualified themselves as. You had to qualify to be someone's husband or somebody's wife. You had to show yourself worthy of being a father or mother, or you would have people that would intervene. That's what a community does. They you know, based on the environment and the family structure, usually there is a medium or mediation within the community to intervene when necessary. So, you know, I guess I'll just leave on saying that we have to get back to creating institutions where we can qualify one another, where we don't have to go to the University of Memphis. We don't have to go to Rhodes College to get a qualification in being a brother, a sister, a father, a mother. These are things that we can learn right in the comfortability of our own communities. And I think that will be the foundation that leads to the resurrection of black economics, community economics, nation building, things of that nature.
I failed to mention that Isaac is here with us. And Isaac, we are making connections through TuneInRadio.com. Is that right?
It is correct.
All right. And we thank Isaac for being here with us.
901-327-2500.
Right. All right. Do we have a call?
No, not now.
All right. Now, I want to say something, but I'm going to make this the last question about this juvenile court thing, the reforming the juvenile court system. But a part of what we're talking about has to do with being trustworthy, reliable, and accountable, Omar, in terms of rebuilding the family. Trustworthiness, reliability, and accountability. What happens when you send someone to the store with a $20 bill and it's next week when you see them again? Go right ahead.
Let's go deeper than that.
Let's go deeper.
When we look at the economic picture of Black America, we need to have these millionaire and billionaire Black entrepreneurs reach back into the community and do something to help our people, especially our children. They can buy, you know, toys for the children during the holidays. Why don't you put a training program in the black community so we can train our young people in skills that are in demand in the marketplace? Also train them on how to become business people so they can open up their own businesses. That way, you know, we got business skills, but we got the wrong product. We selling drugs, that's the product. But the same market you're selling drugs to, they'll buy other products. Marcus Garvey, when he was here, he had the Black Star Line, a series of steamships that were, and he was encouraging people, because when we came out of slavery, we had skills. He was encouraging people to build black factories, and then we could sell those products to black people. With over 2 million followers, he started the Black Star Line for international trade. And then, of course, it was sabotaged by agents of the American government. The FBI hired its first black agent under J. Edgar Hoover to infiltrate the university, what is called the UNIA, so they could upset Marcus Garvey's movement. But the idea was, we got the skills, we got the few little pennies, don't take much, to build factories, and then we can service our own people. We need to take those black billionaires that we got today, and there are some out there, and those multi-millionaires like Michael Jordan, who's taking our money off these high-priced $5 tennis shoes that we paying $500 for. Get that money and put a skills bank together for our children, so that our children don't have to worry about selling drugs. They got a skill, they can go out and market that skill, or set up a business to make that happen. I also want to say, if you're listening today, when I leave here today, I'm going to Memphis Kwanzaa International. We're having a Kwanzaa program at the center at 1549 Elvis Presley. It's going to go to like 5 o'clock, but also Mid-South Kwanzaa is having a program at the University of Memphis in the Pan-Atlantic building. Go to one of those programs when you turn this station off. Please don't forget, this is the last day of Kwanzaa, Imani. We're going to have a celebration to close it out. Plenty of food, refreshments, please go. The other thing I want to say is that my brother had mentioned the church. At one time, the church was a very important part of the community, but it's not going to change back to what it used to be until we get the pimps out the pulpit. We got to get the players out of the house, players out of the cribs, as they call it. Too many players are going into the homes of our women and just playing them for their money. And really, the black woman has become a mother for these players.
Okay.
We need to have the woman set a whole different standard for somebody who's going to come in and lay their head in her house. And if he don't meet the standard, then shut the door and tell him to come back when he's ready for husbandhood and fatherhood. And if he ain't ready, then just shut him out. If you demand something from the man, he'll meet your demand. But if you don't demand nothing, you don't get nothing.
Well, Brother Chris Walton, say something about being trustworthy, reliable, and accountable, because that is something that seems not to be important for many of us. And then the last two questions have to do with the working to eliminate the juvenile court payment system. The very last question has to do with creating and attending parenting classes. But say something, then we'll come around the table, about the former. Trustworthy, reliability, and accountability.
Well,
Oh my God.
when I was growing up, man, you wasn't honest with your parents, and it's grave consequences came behind that. So I don't know what has happened. We've gotten comfortable. It just goes back to I just keep hearing that we went to sleep. We went to sleep, and we just thrown away everything.
Yes.
That we used to sit back and laugh at the crazy stuff that our oppressors do. We'd sit back, look at them crazy,
Yes.
and we'd laugh because we had something that was so far important. We had standards. We had morals and values. We didn't have a whole lot of money. I think that's the problem.
Yes, sir.
When we didn't have as much money, we had more sense.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And now that we're able to get some of the money that actually belongs to us anyway, we think it's something they're giving us, but it's ours anyway.
Yes, sir.
And so we've gotten away from everything that was crucially critical to our strength, So that just, I think that's where some of the trustworthiness, it along with everything, it was like everything that we stood for just kind of just started flowing down the river. And so we got to take the net and grab it and get back to it.
And really back in.
We got to reel it back in.
You want to say something on that? And then when you finish, I want to transition into these parenting classes.
Okay.
So you'll keep right.
But he's right, everything. But we still gotta realize this stuff that's happened to our people.
Right.
It was designed that way.
Right.
Something happened to us to cause us this way. So like we didn't just wake up and be like this, you know. And I think our issue is, like he said, you know, when we were to sleep on the post, and we had more.
Does it have to do with indoctrination?
It most definitely has something to do with indoctrination, conditioning of people, and putting them through a systematic way of life. So that's going to change your psyche. And they've proven that it's a DNA, it's a strand in your DNA now that they have, that they know that it's true, that if whatever traumatic stage that your grandparents went through, it's a strand in your DNA that you will have, that they can identify that marker. So they can identify you they can identify this man right here through his DNA and can determine if he came through a lineage of a group of people that was kidnapped, brought over here, went through this, what we call slavery, and they can determine if he's a direct lineage, you know, based on a traumatic stage in your life. So of course, if that's to be true, then we should logically know that the conditioning that we live right now today is going to affect 20, 30 years now, our children right now. So if we, like he said, we done lost those principles, those core principles that made us a unique people, and the things that we used to laugh at, now we are doing those things. And we're being laughed at, we've always been made a mockery of, but now we're doing those things that really is causing an internal destruction, opposed to an outside force physically doing it. And we done grafted ways of life from another group of people, and now we internalize it and we cause a self-destruction. But we're not teaching our kids that, so we're doing the same thing, and that's where we're at. So until we, like he said, know thyself, you know your purpose, and you know that you came from a lineage that you are still being oppressed. Once you know that knowledge, and you know that you don't want to be oppressed anymore, then you're going to wake up. You're going to wake up a sleeping giant. And a lot of our brothers are sleeping giants, you know, and we are waking up, you know. So, and that's what a society that oppresses you is really afraid of. So they're going to keep on creating new ways and new forms to, you know, push us back, and maybe not make it aware to everybody, you know. So, but those that are aware, we know what's going on. We know what we got to do. And 2017, we can't just keep talking about it. We got to make moves. Some movements we make, we might not have to talk about, but we have to do them. So that's where we at.
Well, we've pointed out some things that has to take place to come out of that slumber. Right here today on this show, we pointed out some of those things. And Chase, earlier, Lonnie mentioned government intervention, if you will. And let's identify some of those things relative to that indoctrination. Does it have to do with legislation and then perpetrated through the media?
Both.
All right.
But most importantly, I think one of the things that we have to be clear on, and we have to be honest, if we want to have a genuine conversation, we have to be honest about the discord amongst young and old, y'all and us. You know, one of the things that we revisit is, well, in my day, we did this and we did that, and in y'all's day, y'all doing that and y'all doing this, but we never get to the point where we talk about all of the in fact, I say this, we actually undermine all along, we undermine the Caucasian or the Europeans countless efforts between the two time periods. You know, just within the last 30, 40 years, the list is innumerable of things, tools, weapons of mass distraction and destruction that's been perpetuated, that's been launched against the youth, the black youth.
Yes, sir.
Once they saying that, you know, the 70s, the Black Power movement, Kwame Ture, and you know, the forces was strong.
Yes, sir.
Once they
Yes,
saying
sir.
that we were actually coming out swinging,
Yes, sir.
they said that is not the way we cannot
That's right.
we cannot fight them like this.
That's right.
So the attacks became far, far more psychological,
Right.
more aimed at subconscious
Yes, sir.
hijacking.
Yes, sir.
A lot of the youth that you see today are under subconscious hijacking.
That's right.
They subconscious mind. Their conscious mind is strong. They can remember every song to a rap CD. They can remember a whole bunch of things consciously, but subconsciously it's ghosts. They're completely ghosts. Whereas once upon a time ago, subconsciously you knew everything that was going on around you. You may acted consciously as though you knew nothing, because that was the way to keep you alive. You know, certain things you just didn't say in public, certain things you just didn't do because you knew the consequences were right away, they were immediate. Whereas today, it's almost to do as thou wilt, but it's with a longer term impact of the consequences of the things that our kids are doing, like the skinny jeans, for example. You know, 20, 30 years down the road, it's going to prove to be fatal for many of these young men. That's a fact. You know,
Yes.
their prostate cancer is real. You know, and so many other things that they don't even know is a part of the agenda to minimize them in the first place. You know, minimize their time on this planet. So, we have to, you know, take into consideration legislation, absolutely, but legislation really doesn't, it doesn't really have that much weight in a free market capitalist society. People are always going to find their way around legislation with money, with dollars. So, you know, we just have to, you know, be more creative in our thinking or imagination and start understanding how, thinking about how media psychology, I feel like, is something that we should be encouraging the next generation to study, because it's going to only get worse in the future. So,
All right, we have 5 minutes left, but I do want to point out that legislation, depending on the policy, can have a negative effect on the social fabric of our people, just depending on that legislation and how we present pushback and how we counter the media. I want to go, last question, I want to say something, Omar, and then you had 2 other points you want to say something about. How do we get into creating and attending parenting classes? And I think we can all agree that this is needed, this is necessary. Go right ahead, Omar.
You know, it's interesting that we talk about parenting classes when you have birds that are parents and they don't need classes. You have
Oh, that's why you were
you
laughing.
have tigers that are parents and they don't go to a lion, they don't go to tiger parenting class. You have fish that are parents in the ocean and they don't have a parenting class anywhere in sight and no ocean. So why do human beings who have a nature for nurturing go to a parenting class to learn how to be a parent when you were raised by a parent? It's because we have forgotten how to be a parent.
Yes.
We've forgotten because we've gone into this, brother said, materialistic society. It's all about me, myself, and I to help with the children and everything else. You should not have to go to class to learn how to be a parent, except you have lost your way. You have lost your way. When I see these children have overexposure to adult matters, well, how can a child be suspended from Head Start for trying to have sex with another child during sleep time, except somebody showed him something he shouldn't have been revealed, he shouldn't have been exposed to? How can you have a child that's exposed to drugs and trying to do drugs at school when somebody must have showed them that drugs was something that you can partake of and it has a certain effect in your body? Because there was not a parent in the household. Now you got children that are 12 and 13 years old having children. And you got grandmothers that are in their 30s because somebody somewhere along the way was not a good parent for that child. But you know what, back in the day when I came through, everybody was showing you how to be a good parent because they were themselves good parents. They were the role models. We have lost that because we integrated into a white society and they were not good parents. Most of the time they handed their parental responsibility over to black maids and black caretakers. If the child got pregnant, what did they do? They sent them north to be with grandmama, because they didn't want to be embarrassed by a teenager that got pregnant. We discouraged that act. My dad, look, I was sitting outside on the porch talking about how babies came here, and I was talking about they came in airplanes. My mama called me inside and said, don't you be talking about that around here. Because she felt like, you're 14 years old, you shouldn't be talking about sex. Nowadays, it's everywhere. Even in the cartoons, you have men, cartoon characters, kissing other men, cartoon characters. Even, I mean, it's everywhere, but you're exposing your children to the mess, and then you have a hard time trying to correct, and most times you cannot correct it. When it comes to child support, I've been divorced, and when they said, here's how much you're going to pay for child support, what I did, I got the figure you gave me, and I put 50% more on top of it, because my child can't live off of that. And I voluntarily increased the 50%. Because you cannot live off of child support, and you should voluntarily take care of your children. And I've got children that are in their 20s, because I still take care of them. They're working, but when they need something, call my number. Don't be calling nobody, call me, I'm your father. You should have that responsibility. And really, if you can't do that, then don't bring a child into the world. If you can't be a parent for the child, then you need to be parentless, and quit trying to pretend you're somebody when you're not.
Well, I want to point out that there is a particular school that I'm relative to, and then this question of where it begins, whose primary responsibility is it the teacher, is it the police? But it's coming right out of the home, and you should hear some of the horrible stories, Lonnie, Jeff, and everybody, that I hear, that I'm told, that they are discussing in the 5th grade and below. Final thoughts. It's time to close out. Final thoughts, 30 seconds each, no more than a minute.
Let me say this. This is my final thought. In 2016, this year, I've gone to 14 funerals, and only 4 of them had life insurance to pay for the funeral. They were begging money. I've got a foster child now who just got murdered on the 23rd of this month, having a fight with his girlfriend. He's had 2 children by her. He had a temper. And when they were fighting, she called her father. He came over to the Rolling Hills apartment, and he saw his daughter being beat up, and he killed her. I sell insurance, life insurance. I want you to call 239-1555. If you are a female with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 children, you can get a good policy for yourself and your children for $20 a month. That's what I'm going to say.
Chris Walton.
Yeah, I just want to say in closing that our oppressors have always had a strategy against us, and that is keep their foot on our throat and us locked down and whatever the case may be. Our strategy needs to be, what can we do to get up and stay up?
Okay. Lonnie gonna pass. Brother Chase.
My closing thoughts is, it may get worse before it gets better, but if we stay determined and keep moving forward, we'll get through it.
All right, now next Sunday, we will be joined by Chet Kibble and Dr. Como. Next Sunday, Chet Kibble, get the lead out in Memphis, and Dr. Como. And we thank you for tuning in. Join us next week as we continue on our journey. And we thank you.